I would like to talk a little bit about uh, the folly of separation of church and state. And I say folly because none of us, I would hope, really believe that this is happening or it's true. The reason they talk about separation in church and state is because the American Constitution wanted to define itself from England. England had a Church of England that for centuries had Ryan Kings, had been pretty much the law of the land. And the fathers of the Constitution did not want it that way. Because, first of all, when you are trying to regulate, and we found this out in our prison system, when you are trying to regulate the behaviors of a man who will not be regulated or does not desire to be regulated, you're beating a dead horse. So when the church would be given authority over all men, whether they be good or evil, then the church is going to run into trouble because they are trying to regulate men and women who are outside their realm of belief, their realm of acceptance, and you cannot do that. It's like going to a baseball game and saying, we're going to have prayer, and assuming that everybody is bowing their heads, assuming that everybody is believing in their heart the prayer that's being said, when in reality it's not happening that way. People are going to the restroom, people are going to get hot dogs and candy, girlfriends and boyfriends are kissing, and all kinds of things are happening because you are not with a like-minded people. Now, it's different when you have a Christian organization come together because they are all like-minded. And when they pray, generally they pray together. And it's of one mind and one accord. So, the new government of the United States desired not to have the same restraints that the church was getting involved with in the New World. So they said the government is not to establish any new religion. New from what? You mean the religion that said that these men had that said, we know that God has created all men equal? That religion? I mean, were they discounting it while they were forming it? Were they denying what they said before that by saying, we don't want to advocate any religion? No, that's not what they were doing. they were saying that there's going to be no disagreement on the way a man worships. There's not going to be any governmental intervention. And we know that's not true. You cannot read a Bible in certain places. You cannot pray in certain places. This is all government intervention. These are laws that were made by the government to regulate the church. Where is the separation? The church is really just as bad, because we speak about that separation. We speak about the need for the separation, but yet we advocate the government giving us a perk by not charging income tax. And certainly there are many times that has been abused by those who call themselves God's people. They have made vast riches and not had to account for any of it. So, when you say separation of church and state, is it really something that exists that you're talking about? When we put money into our offering plates that say on them, this is legal tender for any debt, both public and private, and it is backed up by the United States government. That's not separation. That's not separation. When you have an American flag on the right-hand side, and you have a Christian flag on the left-hand side, and the American flag is supposed to have its place over the Christian flag, that is not separation. When the preachers get up and harangue a certain government issue that maybe comes too close to them or is too personal, that is not separation of church and state. We can talk about it all we want to, but it is not there. As a prophet, I do not marry people. As a prophet, I try to stay away from conducting funerals. I will for very dear friends or in very special cases, but I try to stay away from those things. But in marriage, unless I am certified by the government, unless I take my ordination papers down to the city clerk and become registered, I cannot perform a ceremony that has been God's and in the realms of religion since the beginning of time. It is not legal. That's not separation of church and state. So anytime we talk about it, and there was something that came up not long ago about a cross that was on a veteran's memorial and had been there for 50 years. And there was a long drawn out fight. And this satanic cult they call the American Civil Liberties Union. And I will say that again, this satanic cult, because the only people they represent are people who are anti-God, came in and worked it out so that this cross had to be taken down because it was on public land. It was on public land that was supported by people's taxes. Now these are taxes of Christians and unbelievers, but the Christians have no say-so over their taxes. The unbelievers do. That's not separation of church and state. There's no way. You cannot come up with a definition that would justify that. And I made a video on this. I was a little bit righteously indignant. Because, first of all, the cross was used as to complete our symbol of our belief. It was not the symbol. The Romans were crucifying people on crosses before Jesus was ever born. And so to say that that is the complete representation of our belief, and that getting rid of the cross is going to all of a sudden ruin our religion, is a ridiculous thing to think about anyway. And why don't they, I mentioned the money that goes into the offering plate. Take off that ridiculous saying, "In God we trust." We don't trust in God, we trust in the thing that the motto is written on. And this "In God we trust" goes through the hands of prostitutes, drug dealers, bartenders, thieves, the whole myriad of people that represent life on this earth. It is not a holy representation. It's not a holy symbol. It's a saying. And why doesn't Congress completely rid itself of the oath of office, the Bible that's there, that they have to put their hand on, and swear their honesty and forthrightness before the people, when we know that none of those guys have told the absolute truth, have been absolutely forthcoming with us? That would be another place for the American Civil Liberties Union to get into. Take God out of Congress altogether. He hasn't been there for a long time anyway. He's not heard there. He's not mentioned there in a way that would glorify him. And he has turned his back on this place. separation of church and state. We have these fancy sayings, but in reality, there is no reality. The church is regulated by the government. Religion is regulated by the government. If not, why would the judge have to say, okay, take it down, take the cross down? No more Bible studies in church, or no more Bible studies in school, pardon me. No more praying on the playground. No more 10 Commandments in the schools. That is government regulation. That is a law that was set into place that is so misinterpreted 200 years ago. And it's being applied to the church today. It regulates the church. So where is the separation? It's just something to think about. I just thought I'd get this off my chest. Look up. Look straight ahead. But don't look down. God bless you. God keep you. Make your testimony and your belief an election sure. And God will bless every step that you take. Maranatha.